Welcome to the Plastic Adventures Podcast. I'm Doug, joined by Steve, and we like to talk about toys. A lot.
We're here to take you on a trip down memory lane, a fireside chat, if you will, about those little pieces of plastic that captured our hearts and imaginations.
So join us on this plastic adventure, and let's talk toys.
Alright, we're ready to rock.
Alright. Hey everybody, welcome to our next episode of Plastic Adventures Podcast. I'm Doug, and this is Steve, and we are here to talk about toys again. Lately we've been on a kick of talking about toy brand lines in general. So last time we talked G.I. Joe and Transformers. So today we're going to get into a little bit of Masters of the Universe. But before we do that, we'll do what we always do and share some news that we found around the internet. Steve, do you have any news?
Yeah, actually, some of it's not necessarily internet-based news. Probably the coolest thing is that they have announced the next date for the Inland Northwest Classic Toy Show.
Yay!
I know, it's in May. It's in May. I forgot if it was May 12th or May 15th. But,
hey, it's in May.
Spokane, Washington, put on primarily by Time Bomb Toys. Dude, if you guys get a chance to go up there, visit that guy's shop. He's incredibly personable. He's just a super awesome guy. And his shop is just like stuffed full of awesome stuff. So that's coming up. That's going to be Inland Toy Show number 3 for us.
Yep.
And I'm super jacked about it. So I'm sure that we're going to talk about it a little bit more. There's more podcasts to be had before then. So that was really one of my big ones.
That's great. That means it's time to start saving now, I guess.
Yeah, I suppose so. Hard in a world full of clearance aisles and all kinds of good stuff. So yeah, there was that. I'm not sure how topical it's going to be, but right now you've got Walmart and Target closing out tons of Masters of the Universe stuff. There's a lot of good deals to be had. I was at both the Richland and Kennewick Targets today. They got a bunch of that stuff on clearance. Walmart's starting to do the same, which is actually really neat. It means that the resets are coming, the Q1. A lot of new
That's good news
products are
for
going
us.
to be. Yeah, it's great news. And surprisingly, I had sort of speculated a few podcasts ago that there was just going to be too much left at Walmart. You know what I mean? Like too many. They got so much stuff in Q4 that I just thought that we would be kind of hosed, and this stuff would just be like massively clogging the shelves. But supply is sort of dwindling out, so it's pretty good there. Also,
I'm looking forward to some Masters of the Universe clearance.
Yeah. Hey, look forward to it and then watch it go.
I hope I can grab some more He-Man and Skeletor while they're on the shelf.
Yeah, Battlefield Warriors, that $50 pack with the Vac Metal He-Man and Battle Cat, not on clearance yet, but as soon as it goes at a reasonable price, then
It's got to get there.
That's
soon.
what I'm going to get. I can't justify $50, for 2 figures that are already out there and easy to get. But also, I have come across some new figures from the Batman. Like the mainline regular release is not the McFarlane stuff. They're in 4-inch scale.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Out in the real world?
Yeah, just saw some today. Saw some at the Richland Target.
Nice. What do they look like?
Good.
Really?
Yeah,
Like
it's the
can
same.
You see if they're like overly jointed? Or
No. If you've seen like the DC superheroes that are budget priced, they're like $7.99 and they're a 4-inch scale. It's the same company that does these.
But they're bigger?
No, they're 4-inch scale.
They're still
but
4-inch scale?
I mean, there's like a Batmobile in Batman that's $29.99, and you've got Catwoman and Penguin. So they're really neat. Actually, the new movie designs are really good. So for a budget toy line, it really surprised me to see that.
Right on.
Also, my last little hunk I want to talk about, Good Smile Company. They're a model kit company. They make posable model kits. Doing a super cool Ellen Ripley in the Power Loader suit. So it's in
nice.
6-inch scale to go with all your NECA aliens. If you missed out on, did not NECA do that loader, the Power Loader?
I don't know if they did or not.
Somebody did, but it's another opportunity to have one, and this one's a lot more detailed, and it's a collector-oriented product. So, Good Smile Toys, you can hook it up on Big Bad Toy Store. It's a great place to start looking. So, very, very cool.
Yeah, and that's a iconic piece of Aliens filmography.
Man,
I mean, seeing Ripley and the mech loader.
The Space Marines are badass, but I mean that is just something like that whole leave her alone, you bitch.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I love that
awesome.
whole scene.
Yeah. Okay, so you might have some neat stuff to share.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure maybe some of the people around the internet have already heard about this, but it's news to me. So, the Legacy and Studio Series core class are starting to be seen. That's Ravage and Shockwave, and one I'm really excited for the Legacy is Skywarp. Mm-hmm. He's basically just a repainting of the Kingdom Starscream.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Why would they ever repaint a Starscream into a different character? I don't understand that.
It's just like all the rest of them. But that's all he is. There's really no difference except for the packaging. But still, it's kind of cool to get a Skywarp in the same scale as the Kingdom Core class Starscream.
Yeah, and the ones we've had so far have been like super awesome.
Oh yeah, they've all been really good.
Starscream and Optimus are great toys.
Yeah, I'm not into the Beast Wars. I've never really been into the Beast Wars, so I'm not too excited about grabbing like the Fossilizers or the Beast Wars Transformers themselves. But the Kingdom Core class ones that have been really good. So yeah, Megatron, Optimus Prime, Starscream, and my favorite so far is Soundwave. So they've done really good, really articulated, very posable, really nice looking toys. And then like I said, looking forward to Skywarp, looking forward to finding a Hot Rod, because I'm really kind of interested in collecting a lot of the G1s in that core class size. So
the core figures feature an interesting gimmick. They all come with these little weapons that you can combine weapon pieces from different figures. So like Hot Rod comes with that wonky looking sword, but it can combine with the pieces that come with Skywarp and other characters.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that was the gimmick.
I just saw it today. I'm not that smart. I
did
saw it on
not
the
know
internet.
that was the gimmick. Well, there you go. Something new.
So.
But to go along with that Legacy, I'm pretty sure this may be a couple of days old news, but the Laser Optimus Prime is being released in the Legacy packaging, and Galvatron. So if you missed Galvatron in the Kingdom packaging, just like Blaster, you're going to get a chance to grab him in the Legacy packaging, which honestly I really like the Legacy packaging. It looks really cool to me. I like the
window
purple
box
and the blue
thing looks really cool. Yeah.
So I'm pretty excited about that. I like packaging that I can take my figure out, pose him, take pictures of him, play with him, and then put him back in the box and put him on a shelf. Mm-hmm. I'm okay with displaying the loose figures that I have, but I always feel like I'm gonna knock them over easier, or they just get dusty, and I just don't like that. So anything I can put back in the box, I'm a fan of. Mm-hmm. Right? So these guys in the little boxes for core class.
I know, it's just this cute little thing with a teeny tiny little window box in there,
but it does its job. So it made me want to get it. So. I'm pretty excited for those, and I'm sure there's other news out there, but that's the ones that I saw that caught my eye.
And on that packaging, Hasbro committed to reducing plastics in their packaging. Mm-hmm. So a lot of those safety ties that were around the figures used to be these like rubber band type things with a little sprue thing on the end of it. So part of going to this window box style packaging is reducing the overall like the plastic blister.
Yep.
And you know what it kind of reminds me of? Sometimes you're a kid, and you're not a kid of great means, and even GoBots might be too expensive in the store, but you go to the dollar store, and you get Machine Robo, the rip-off, or the original GoBots that are imported by some other company into the country and went into the dollar stores in the 80s.
I remember those.
And Machine Robos came in these really cool little boxes, too.
They did.
They had a little window right there, and that's sort of what it reminded me of. Yeah.
Yep. No, that's really cool. I'm just pretty jazzed about it. I'm looking forward to it. So, yeah. All right. Well, that was it for my news. That was it for your news.
We can move on to
tell
time.
Show and tell time.
All right.
I'll go first. I'll go first since mine's right here. Okay, so this is the Studio 83 Soundwave from the Bumblebee movie, and so here he is in I guess you can say all of his glory now.
Colors are great.
The colors are great.
You guys got to admit that. The colors are great.
The colors are great. He resembles Soundwave. in a lot of ways. But I still think that I was talking to Steve before we started talking about the podcast. He's kind of been my first Transformer that I've gotten in a long time that was just kind of meh, kind of ho-hum. Like, he's not... I thought he was going to be better than he was, and then I got him in hand, was really excited, and then not so excited. And I don't know why that is. I mean, it could be a lot of things. It could be his legs, could be his head, could just be the fact that his alt mode is garbage.
Seriously, you guys, take a look at this alt mode. It's just like Soundwave laid on the ground and they folded some pieces into some sort of a square. We don't even know if it's supposed to be a spaceship.
I don't know. Plate wave, platter wave. What, I don't know what you call it.
I don't know. It looks like the cover for an irrigation box or something. I don't know.
Either way, he's not going to be transformed into that mode. He's probably just going to stay in his box and be happy. But for a Soundwave collector like me, and to add to the Soundwave collection, he does his job. He looks pretty decent. He does resemble the one in the movie. His chest is actually
pops open. That's pretty sweet.
It is pretty decent, and it's a nice solid pop too. It doesn't feel cheapy. So I mean, it's good. The detail, the molding on him is good. Yeah. So overall, he's okay.
Studio Core Ravage will fit right in there. It'll be just like it's supposed to be. That's
the one I'm looking forward to consider him complete.
So I will say this. This Soundwave is not worse than the worst Optimus Prime that's come out. Right? So I mean, if we're going to like sort of draw a comparison there, the things that we find a little strange about it, he's definitely Quadzilla. Did not skip leg day 100%. I don't know, man, those forearms.
His calves, look at his calves.
Oh, man. What do we should we should call him is single guy Soundwave, those big strong forearms for gripping. Anyways, it's a pretty it's not the worst Soundwave. There's a lot of really great details. I like the little red paint that we've got there, and we've got some highlights in there, and he's got these little red bands on the wrist. It looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not like super overly disappointed with it.
But this is not like Kingdom Optimus Prime.
No,
probably the greatest retail release of an Optimus Prime.
He's not even on that level at all. But he's okay. I mean, he's okay. That's all. That was my latest addition for show and tell. Well, except for the other one that we want to show.
Do we get some light piping in the eyes there?
So it does, yeah. So he has.
Oh yeah, and it's like painted over red. So you probably can't really see this on camera very well, but he does have the light piping on the back, and they have applied a real thin coat of red paint over there. So if you get it in the light just enough, they glow red.
It kind of hums red. It doesn't really like stand out red, but yeah. Like I said, so. Do we want to do
show them what we got today?
Yeah, the big ones.
Yeah, you want to do it on 3?
Yeah, 1,
2, 1. Boom!
Battle Cats.
Yeah. As mentioned in the earlier news section, Walmart and Target are clearing everything out. We got these bad boys for $11.99 a piece.
$11.
I'm not a big Battle Cat guy, but this thing is literally like the size of our pet rabbit. Only it doesn't shit, so that's really good.
You're not a big Battle Cat guy, but this is a big Battle Cat.
That's a gigantic Battle Cat.
He's huge.
We do have Origins He-Man. Or not Origins, but Revelations He-Man. So I got to figure out some way to get this on the shelf, but couldn't pass it up. So if any of these are left out there, if this video gets up in time, dude, it's $12. Can't say no to a $12 5-pound Battle Cat. Yeah.
No, and like I said before, Revelations. Say what you want about the cartoon or any of that other stuff. The toys are solid. The toys are solid toys. They're good action figures. They're articulated well. They have good accessories. I mean, they're everything that you're looking for in an action figure. And they're slightly big. I mean, they're 7 inches?
Yeah, so they're bigger than a standard 6-inch scale. They're actually bigger than Masters of the Universe Classics, which was the standard bearer 6-inch scale He-Man redo. And I would even venture to say I actually like the Revelations update better than the Classics He-Man. But so far, we've discussed it before. Origins is the best thing since sliced bread, since the originals.
Origins is my favorite so far. You can't beat retro packaging, the retro style figures. even with just the
mass
updated
retail
little bit of
pricing,
articulation,
yeah,
it's all good. Everything about it was a home run as far as I'm concerned. If you want to redo a line in a retro way, there was no better way to do it than how Origins
just
did it.
Terrific figure.
Yeah, absolutely.
I thought I was going to be coming to the table empty-handed. Nothing to show and tell, but I got some really cool stuff that we're going to look at next week once it arrives. It's pretty neat. I'm excited about it. But I get excited over hardly anything. A last-minute edition. How about those apples? I'm not a big Star Wars guy. I do have, I don't know, probably 60 figures or something like that displayed. But, anybody watching this who collects toys, you've probably dug into a box before. And you're looking for one thing, and then suddenly just something really radical rattles out of it that you forgot was in there. Mm-hmm. So Doug was looking for a G.I. Joe 83 headquarters, and these just popped out of the box. And you know what? Since we're very good toy friends, these are Steve's now.
Those are Steve's.
Pretty rad.
Happy they found a new home.
Really excited over I guess he's complete. Can't hold any accessories.
Nope, that is who he is.
And if anybody's holding his accessories out there, just don't contact me. They're too expensive.
They're way too expensive.
Yeah.
But as far as, last 17 figures go, which were all, for Star Wars collectors, the last 17 were the last 17 figures that were released under a called Power of the Force. Mm-hmm. I think some came with coins. I'm not sure if they all did or not.
I think the whole release came with
all
the coins. Yeah.
But those were the last 17 figures that were released for the vintage Star Wars line. If you're not including the droids figures and things like that, which I think some people do consider those part of the vintage Kenner line. I don't. I consider them like a offshoot of the Kenner Star Wars line. These are the last 17 though are the hardest to find for collectors. So that includes ones like Han Solo and Carbonite.
Yeah, totally rad figure. And wasn't that Carbonite translucent?
It wasn't. It was
so
like
a
brown
translucent in there, and you could see Han Solo through it.
Yep, it's a very good one. I've had a few of them throughout my lifetime, so they're good figures. But then it also includes like the Death Star Gunner, and it includes
the Imperial Dignitary, aka Peg Warmer McWormski.
Who saw him for 3 seconds in Return of the Jedi, but hell, he got a figure. So
he did. Yeah. He needs to get more sun. Is what he needs. Those guys are looking a little peaked.
But those are the last 17, and that's what we mean when we say that. So looking for. I was going through my G.I. Joe headquarters box, looking to see if it was complete, if anything needed to be repaired or replaced. And these guys popped out from underneath it. So
well, happy to have them, man. That's really cool.
Yep.
I guess I need another Darth Vader carrying case up there to put the figures in. But speaking of droids, did you ever see the Commemorative C-3po that's coming out? And he's done up in his droids deco, and it's on a droid card. Mm-hmm. Those are out.
Have you seen one?
Saw him at Target. Yep. Yeah, so that's an additional news thing. I didn't know if you wanted it, man, because I looked at it and I'm like, wow, that's like cool in a sucky-ass droids toy kind of way, but...
I mean, the first shot that you look for should be like, if you hold it in your hand, go, I wonder if Doug would want it.
I didn't know. Hey, now I do. Ah, man, I gotta go toy hunting again.
Oh.
Darn it. I mean... Sweetheart, I'm responsible. If you're one of my 3 viewers, sweetheart,
9.
I know
9.
Oh shoot! Yeah, we got
9 subscribers,
and we got a Facebook page now too.
Oh man,
total craziness! I'm the admin. I do not internet worth a squat, so we'll see how that works.
We have an Instagram that's never used.
We're working on it, people. We're working on it. Work with us here. So yeah, what do we? That's into show and tell there.
That was a pretty good show and tell though. I mean, the Battle Cat though, that's
good find. Good find. I'm happy to have it. I'm just excited. I saw Stridor today at Target.
That's another one that's really cool. Was it the MOT, the Origins?
The new one, Origins Stridor. And there were even some land sharks marked down to $16 at the Richland Target.
I need to save my money and go.
Well, but man, it's those things where
Stridor's. I don't know if Stridor is a favorite among people. It is for me.
You do like it.
I love Stridor and I love Fisto, and I like that those two go together.
Yes,
Don't laugh at
they
my
do.
sister.
Yeah. Has there been a worse name for a character? Like, the only thing worse would have been like Molesto. Seriously.
Gosh, every time I can't help but laugh every time somebody posts that stupid cell frame from I fisted him hard, but
yeah, I bet you did.
Oh no, that did not age well.
See the size of that guy's glove? That is not the proctologist.
That did not age
yeah.
well.
Yeah.
No. All right. Anyway, that's why our videos are marked not for children.
Yeah.
Anyway,
toys aren't for kids, anyways. What the hell are you thinking?
not these toys.
Keep them on the shelves.
Yeah.
Take them out of the package and put them on a shelf. Don't play with them. They're not valuable. Never play with toys. They're not for
nerds.
children. Yeah.
They're for us. But anyway, so Strider is actually one I liked him.
Okay.
As a kid, I thought he was cool in the cartoon, and He-Man let him free, go run wild with the other horses,
Eat some robo hay or whatever.
But still, yeah.
Did they even? Oh, hold on now. Did Lou Scheimer even spend the money to animate He-Man having a tear?
I don't know if he did.
I mean,
or not.
There's probably like that sad face he made when he thought he killed somebody that they've reused in a few episodes. But would that cheapskate have even paid for the tear animation? I highly doubt that.
Man, you leave that man alone.
The guy
He's
did,
responsible for my afternoon
half
childhood
of the
memories.
voices because he didn't want to pay voice actors. Golly.
Hey, you still like that cartoon?
Yeah, I love that.
So
yeah, it's good.
you mock it all you want. Actually, it's easy to mock. I totally understand.
Yeah, I know. Like,
But it's still easy to love.
Beastman, what are you doing back there? I'm just holding on to you sexually.
We only wear fur underwear and straps.
Yeah, you heard that.
All right, let's not talk about that anymore.
That's a good segue.
Actually, it is a good segue.
Brand discussion. We've been hitting the big four, and it's Masters of the Universe this time.
It is Masters of the Universe time. Let's talk about Masters of the Universe, because growing up, I think Star Wars was first for a lot of us little kids growing up.
Yep.
And then Masters of the Universe hit the scene, and you're like, Star Wars what?
Oh God. Yep.
Right?
Yep.
It still held a place for us, but man, Masters of the Universe, when it hit the scene, you were all about He-Man. He-Man everything. And, I'm not talking just the action figures. Like, you were hard up for the dinner plate that he had and the frickin' cup that would come out. Like, everything He-Man. Lunchbox, backpack.
Every bullcrap tie-in that you could ever have. Erasers.
You were hard for it. You were like,
yeah.
Yes, I want this thing. I need to find it. So yeah, He-Man was everywhere, and when he came on the scene in a big, big way. So there were not a lot of toys and action figures out that were kind of showcasing that muscly barbarian fantasy. So it filled that void.
Yeah, you're right. Yep.
Which up until that time we were sci-fi was really big, but so were things like Big Jim and Mountain Men,
Migos
and Fisher Price action figures and things like that. So
and even some Remco.
Well, Remco did have some, like the what were they called, the Warlords?
Yeah,
series.
those weren't till a little bit later. They didn't go full out like He-Man until He-Man went full out He-Man.
Okay.
But you had Mego pocket heroes. I mean, everything, like the action figure in general was a figure who was capable of action. But I mean, he wasn't like a action figure.
No,
he was like
He-Man was really good, and he was instantly one of those toys that boys our age gravitated to. Right? He was a symbol of good. He was, he made right choices. He seemed wise. He stood up for the little guy. All those things that, as a little kid, you instantly recognize and gravitate to.
Sort of like 80s hero morals that most of the 80s heroes had.
Yep.
But yeah, and He-Man was the first cartoon that you were allowed to have that supported a toy line. Yep, they deregulated that in the very early 80s, so in some ways it really wasn't Mego's fault or any other company with these pocket superheroes and world's greatest superheroes. You kind of had a little bit of tie-in stuff happening with Spider-Man, the old Spider-Man cartoons, but they could not have like Spider-Man the action figure series, so that deregulation is what birthed He-Man.
Yep.
And I mean,
thanks, Reagan.
Hey, I'll take it, man. I'll take it. And then obviously everything that felt after they saw what He-Man could do with a cartoon, the power of that advertising, that it just opened up the absolute floodgates. So I mean, He-Man is, you could say that He-Man is responsible for the '80s boom of toys.
That would be a fair assessment.
Yeah, I mean, Star Wars.
I mean, a lot of them came out relatively close to each other, all in those early '80 time frames. So you had, Star Wars, He-Man, G.I. Joe, Transformers, all within that first part of the '80s. All came out at relatively the same time, within a year or two of each other, but still close. And those are what formed the basis of our toy collecting.
Oh, absolutely.
Hobby. I mean,
and they're all still there.
Us. Yeah,
it's all still with us.
Yeah. But He-Man, though, specifically, it's one of those toy lines that kind of holds that special place because it had so many different things that go along with it, like the cartoon. Very fond memories of actually running home from school to get home in time to watch He-Man, and it was on every day after school. It wasn't like I had to wait till frickin' Saturday to watch this thing.
Yeah,
I could watch it every day.
Yeah, they had 65 episodes. Ready to rock and roll.
Oh, I know.
Syndication.
Yep, yeah. It was great, and so you instantly loved it. And then all of the different characters and figures that came along with it, all of them colorful, all of them very two-dimensional, I should say.
Well, they're really niche. I don't want to say niche design, but I mean, like, if you had a guy that could climb like a spider, he looked like a spider, was painted like a spider. The characters were extremely well defined. Like Merman looked like, I mean, even though his armor kind of looked like it was just sliced off corn on the cob.
It did.
It's like bright with this green. But he looked like a fish guy.
Yep.
So Buzz-Off's a Bumblebee. You have all these characters that are just like hardcore. Turn the volume up to 12 on the concept. Snout Spout. He's an elephant with a snout.
There's a robot.
Snouts. Yeah, Roboto was a. A robot. Yeah, there we go.
I say he's a cool dude. But okay, so tell me if you agree with me or not. So the first run of He-Man, that first wave, those 8 figures that came out, always felt like they were slightly different than the rest of all of the He-Man figures that came out. So I don't know if it had to do with the initial art that came in the comics for that run of 8, and they just always felt a little more, I don't know what the word is, more barbaric, more like the world felt like it wasn't quite tamed.
Well, you didn't have like laser cowboys and guys who had a battering, whose heads were a battering ram. Right. So that you had a few of these little. It was just a small sprinkling of some of the far out concepts, like the Cosmic Enforcer, but he scaled way back.
Well, but the art that came in with the mini comics with the figures really helped, like, at least in my mind, tell me what these figures were all about. Sword and sorcery, magic, brawn, the coloring. I love the coloring that they made Eternia look like. It was red skies and purple and really rocky, craggy, and just it felt like it was an untamed world. Yeah, for those first 8, and it felt
with
like
jets.
Well, not quite yet.
Not yet. But it
not quite
later.
Yet. But then after that, especially after the cartoon, we saw the cartoon. We got a completely different Eternia. Nice, peaceful, loving, flowing trees and whatever. The Palace of Eternia was very nice and organized and beautiful, and that was not how I had originally envisioned He-Man, though I'm not unhappy with. I'm just saying it feels like 2 different He-Man worlds. The first 8 were this untamed, and the rest of everything that came after it felt like it fell into that.
Yeah, well, you're right though. Those original mini comics, there was no story yet, so they relied on the mini comics to say who the characters were and what they do. And I mean, He-Man was just some guy from like a barbarian tribe.
Yeah,
and his power vest and that stuff, it made him stronger, but it didn't make him the most powerful man in the universe. So this concept was sort of ahead of where the cartoon was at, even though they're kind of concurrently being developed. Toys hit the shelves actually before the cartoon, and they needed something to establish the characters. And I mean, it kind of harkens back to Mattel. I believe they passed on Star Wars,
yeah.
yes, and they were kicking themselves because Kenner got Star Wars for pennies, and I mean the cost was something like $4,000 to maintain the license. It's some way low amount, but everybody passed on Star Wars. Kenner took it, and Mattel's like, well, dude, we got a Big Jim is not doing so hot. We have not had a hit at retail for a long time, so one of their designers named Roger Sweet. Him and like 2 other people got together. He had a concept, 3 different concepts that he pitched. It was science fiction,
the barbarian,
and then some like modern type of a thing, weird character with a tank turret for a head.
Yeah.
But Roger Sweet actually sculpted out these toys, and he used existing figures, added some sculpting putty to it, dried it off, and painted them up. So we had the 3 concepts, and as the story goes, they were showing it off for all the bigwigs, and one of the bigwigs walks by and says, "Whoa, what are those?" Mm-hmm. And he said, "Well, it's my barbarian space or fantasy." I think his idea was he was going to be able to dress the central character up in different outfits, one of which was like a white Boba Fett.
Star Wars right,
yeah. Anyhow, so he's got these 3 concepts, and the bigwig walks by and he says, "Whoa, those things have the power." That is where I have the power came from.
Is it really? Because I thought Toys That Made Us said that they were like, it was because they wanted kids to have the power and something like that.
Well, I'll tell you what, that's the story as the guy who created He-Man tells it. Well, but Roger Sweet's kind of an eccentric guy, and
either way, He-Man has the power.
You had Mark Taylor, who was actually super responsible too, because Roger Sweet birthed the concept, and Roger Taylor was the first guy that drew out black-haired Conan-looking He-Man, and had the different designs. The one with the little kind of helmet with a little cone on it, but he had the chest piece with the Iron Cross on there. And Blonde He-Man was like an 11th hour decision when they were putting them together to go out. So Roger Sweet created the concept, and Mark Taylor actually did the final drawings that became characters. So Skeletor, Beastman, He-Man. But without Roger Sweet, there would be no Mark Taylor working on it. And unfortunately, Mark Taylor passed away recently. But
he did.
You can say thoughts and prayers, but the guy lived a very long life, and he had his fingers in some of the coolest things that have ever come. So it's a great legacy.
Yep. So what you said a couple seconds ago about Big Jim. So some of the things that were from Big Jim found their way over into the Masters of the Universe line. So Battle Cat was actually a repainting of a tiger from Big Jim. Zor the eagle is a repainting of the regular eagle that came from the Big Jim line. So Mattel, just like every other toy company, did what it does best and says, "Hey, we have this thing. Let's use it."
Yeah,
and it works.
And
right?
I don't know if there's ever been a more parts usy company than Mattel. You can tell very much that the original 8 are a very budget line.
Yeah.
It is a couple of different sets of arms, a couple of 2 sets of legs, and some bare and furry torsos, and the female characters have a head sculpt difference, and that's it.
And that's it. Yeah, their bodies are exactly the same.
Yeah. But so the way that they decoed the figures is yes, it's more subdued, but still it was very bright, and the characters pop.
Yeah, I'm just saying that to me, there always felt like a very clear line, at least. Between the first 8 and the rest of the He-Man line. Not that it was. I'm not saying that that's bad. I'm just saying that it just felt like that was a very, very clear difference between the first 8 and the rest of them, because the rest of them started to become really colorful and
sort of built around their gimmicks.
Exactly. Yep. Trapjaw, Triclops.
Oh man.
Cool
figure.
Yeah, I know. And so and they were really cool. And you were like Whiplash. You twist his leg and whoosh, the tail goes around, the big rubber tail. So they're all very cool, colorful figures and very, very playable.
Oh yeah.
As a kid, you're like, "Yep, I'm going to take this and just go." And you can ram them into each other, and
you got these toys in your hand, and you just knew what to do with the toys.
Absolutely.
You saw Jitsu with his golden, chopping hand. And you knew that you didn't pull it down. If you chopped with a karate chopping hand, you pull it up and it would drop.
Yeah.
And fist Fisto, pull down, punch, yes.
Yeah, but then, later on in the line, they came up with some really good figures. Unfortunately, it was at the end of the line. So, like, things like Scareglow, things like the Horde, when they were with the crossover with She-Ra.
Mm-hmm.
Those ones were, still really cool. Extendor, I'm looking at him specifically, like, really cool, gimmicky guys, but, not enough,
dude,
I think, to save the line.
We got a Sorceress and a Randor at the end, too. Great. Those are great figures out of the line. Randor looks like the Burger King, but for just totally slapping some parts together, that was a rad figure.
No, it's
cloth
very
goods. Cool. Some of them were getting cloth goods. Randor and Scareglow, and Scareglow glows in the dark.
Scareglow is so awesome, and what I like about Scareglow is is kind of the mystery behind Scareglow. Yeah. So specifically, we'll talk about him for a second. So. Some people think that Scareglow is his own entity, and some people are of the theory that Scareglow is an entity from the future who used to be Skeletor.
Yeah, because he's the evil ghost of Skeletor.
So, is he Skeletor? Is he not? I don't know, but it's really cool. I love that mystery behind it. You can use him either way. You can play with him either way, so it's really cool. But then there were some not so good figures, Steve.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there was Twistoid and Rotor, which I do not collect either one of those. There were Meteorbs. There were the guys that turned into rocks. Yeah. What, like Tonka didn't shit the bed with Warlords figures?
Mattel's like, hey, let's follow that up.
Yeah. There were
hold my beer. We can outdo that one.
Do you remember, some of the Horde guys, like Leech and Mantana, just clogged the shelves.
Yep.
They're cool figures to have now, but boy, were they just... and Cobra Khan. You could walk into any Payless or Kmart and there'd be like 8 pegs of Cobra Khan.
Which is kind of surprising to me, because I actually kind of liked Cobra Khan. His gimmick was cool. Spray hiss.
His gimmick when I played with Cobra Khan was killed by He-Man.
Another guy for me to kill.
Yeah.
But so some of my not so favorite figures, and Orko. I was not a fan of the Orko that we got for that line.
What do you do with him, though?
He looked like Orko. He came with a magic trick that, for some ungodly reason, now is like so super expensive that it's because that was the first thing that kids threw away when they opened the package. Like, what the hell is this?
Orko. I don't even want his magic trick.
And now as a collector, you're like, I wish I had those things. Well, you got to go back and dig in the trash from 1980 because that's where most of it went.
Well, don't worry, those plastics don't break down on the landfill. They might get a little brittle, but.
Oh man, but they were no good. And what was those? The Meteorbs. What was it? One was I have the Rhino. Like, what? I don't understand.
They're like meteorites that turn into animals.
Yeah, I don't
they were an import. I think it's a Takara product of some kind. I think they might have been capsule toys from Japan.
It felt like it didn't fit with He-Man.
Or as they like to call them, Gashapon. Gashapon. Because that's the sound that the machine makes when you turn the crank on it to get it out. Yeah. True story.
I believe you. But like I said, so the colorful characters, some were really great, some were not so great. But the other thing about the He-Man line that was really kind of cool were the vehicles.
Yeah.
We got some pretty cool gimmicky vehicles that went along with He-Man, and like the figures, there was a wide spectrum of really cool to, I don't know what they were thinking, but I think the coolest of all things for He-Man in general was Castle Grayskull.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. Dude, who out there doesn't have one that other toys played in? Probably the most iconic playset of all time.
Oh my gosh, yes. So, first of all, it's huge to a little kid.
Yeah.
It's big. You had to put that thing on the table in order to play with it. And then the things that it came with trapdoor, came with elevators, came with battle turrets, came with all kinds of weapons.
Locking front door.
Yeah, you had to use your sword to open it. Oh my gosh,
or
it was
G.I.
really cool.
Joe hand or whatever.
Really cool.
Yeah.
And like you said, almost all of my toys at one point played in Castle Grayskull. And I brought in other things to play with Castle Grayskull. So like the droid factory for He-Man, or for Star Wars, felt like it had the same colors as the floors of Castle Grayskull. So that turned into Man-at-Arms workstation. When I was playing with a kid, like, whoop, that's where Man-at-Arms went. He was building his crap in his workstation because that's what he needed. Yeah, and then later on, the add-on to that with Point Dread, even cooler. So like you can add on to Castle Grayskull. Heck yeah! Or you could have it separate off to the side. Very cool idea. And Point Dread itself was actually kind of cool. The release came with a record.
It did.
So you could hear the story of it. So right off the bat, Masters of the Universe, just alone with Castle Grayskull and He-Man and Skeletor, just kind of sets it apart from all the other toys that came out.
You don't know what's sad? I never knew that Point Dread hooked onto Castle Grayskull. It wasn't until like 2000.
No
the
way.
Year 2000.
You didn't
I never
really?
knew that. I never saw one when I was a kid.
Oh.
I lived in East Kennewick, and I didn't get any further. I didn't get any further west usually than Buttrey's, that grocery store / department store, and across the road, across Kennewick Avenue, you had Giant T or Thrifty, and I mean that was like my main places where toys came from. So I think Point Dread maybe kind of came and went before I even knew it.
Oh, so that means you never made it to the Pasco Griggs, huh?
Occasionally we got to Pasco
That
Griggs.
would have been a treat back then, and because Pasco Griggs was like Transformers, G.I. Joe heaven. Like they had shelves of that stuff.
Well, I remember going over there and actually getting. I think I had a choice because Griggs, for whatever reason, I don't know if it was they bought warehouse clearances or something and brought those toys in, but I had the opportunity to buy a Flint figure a couple years after he'd already left the shelves, so it might have been like 87. And here's like this 85 Flint. I bought Ripcord instead. Man, like I don't know if you guys out there watching this remember, allowance day would be coming up, and it's like your one time. In my case, one time during the month, and I got $5 a month for an allowance.
You had to pick and choose.
And for like 20 days. Oh, I can't wait to get this toy. I want it so hard. Oh, I want that Flint figure so bad. And then you get to the store, like eventually your mom or aunt or grandma's going there and you've got this money in your hand to get it. And you're like, there's Flint, and I want Ripcord instead. I don't know, dude.
I know. But, Griggs had a lot of great toys. So it would have been a
older
treat to go.
stuff.
Yeah.
And, for the longest time, they had just piles of listening fun tripwires. Mm-hmm. That weird, like, pink tripwire. And those things, dude, you could buy them for like $3.99 at Griggs. And on card right now, those are, what, a $500 bill or more?
Easily.
Bunches of them. And listening fun Cliff Jumper, I think that was in yellow.
Oh, yeah.
Had those there too, and I remember seeing them as a kid and be like, those colors are dumb.
Is that the one they refer to as Bumble Jumper or whatever?
No.
Is that a different one? He was like mashed together or something. It was like a Bumblebee.
There was red and yellow Bumblebees and Cliff Jumpers that were released on card on accident. Bumble Jumper, he has a different head. It's actually got a face, and it's not the Cliff Jumper face. It's a different looking face with these kind of bulbous eyes. Okay.
I don't know everything.
Yeah,
about it, so
no, I'm trying to remember. My buddy's got one of them, and when a kid brought one to school, I thought, oh my god, they got a Bumblebee with a regular face now. But no, they were really haphazard at the beginning of Transformers with the release of those mini cars because several miscolors on those.
Yeah, well, I know that back in Japan, that was big. They had a car that was released in 3 different colors.
Yeah, they
just
came
in
in these
care if you had yellow,
like,
red,
Matchbox boxes too.
Yeah.
It's really kind of a cool packaging idea.
But anyway, that's Transformers. We're talking about G.I. Joe. So, or no, G.I. Joe.
We talked about that some other time. Yeah, Motu. Yeah. We're back.
But with Castle Grayskull and Point Dread, you also had the other vehicles that they could ride in. So you had the Battle Ram, you had the Wind Raider, you had, like we were talking about earlier, things like Strider, the robot horse, and things that could be pulled with a ripcord. And I mean, just really cool ideas that they were just like throwing out there to see what sticks.
Yeah, giant spider that they could ride in that actually like kind of crept forward.
Attack Track.
You had some oddball, the Monstroid, that spinning thing that Hordak could ride in, and all it did was just turn around in circles.
What about his giant like praying mantis thing?
Mantisaur.
It didn't excite me as a kid.
Can't all be winners, kids.
But then they had like Battle Bones. I thought that was a cool idea. You may not like it.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool. Battle. I can still remember the
Yeah,
commercial.
like the commercials.
Battle bones.
Dragon Walker. Bash a sore ass. Yeah, I remember.
Oh, but that was all part of the fun. And but yeah, I mean, the play sets and the vehicles were just another aspect of He-Man that was just really kind of cool. And what a wide range of things to come with for a guy who could really only move his arms, and his legs were rubber bands.
Yeah,
I mean,
to squeeze them into vehicles.
Yeah, I mean, you got a wide range of playability with these things, and you didn't care that his legs didn't bend at the knee or things like that. You were just this guy was it. He was everything for you, and it stuck with you. Obviously, I mean, into our adulthood, we still remember these characters, and we remember these toys that we played with, and we remember the joy and the happiness that it brought to us, either by ourselves or when we're outside in the backyard playing with our friends. We just remember that spirit of being free and playing with these toys. And so
and those Masters figures are just so robust. I mean, when you hold one, they're just like dense, hard to break. I mean, you couldn't really break the legs off unless you intentionally twisted the bands up and pulled them apart. Yeah, I did too. I stuck popsicle sticks up because I was immediately regretting breaking He-Man's legs off. Anyways,
but some of the things that were kind of disappointing, some of them were, I felt like the accessories got lost quick for He-Man, kind of like with G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
Even though they were big and bulky, I felt like I always felt like I was losing Trap Jaws.
And I mean, he had like storage on his belt where you could tuck those in, but they just one little teeny tiny peg.
Yeah, and I felt like I was losing those, and anything that came with more than one accessory, I felt like I was always kind of misplacing it. I don't know if that was just me, but
well, at one point, the standard right arm that holds the weapons, all the figures for the uninitiated, right hands are always sculpted to hold weapons, left are open for a shield to clip to, except Battle Armor, He-Man, and Skeletor. They had open
right.
Like
and Fisto. Fisto had a...
Oh, no, that's right. No, that's right. Fisto's the only one. Him and Jitsu had the other arms that were open, not Battle Armor. So at one point, they had these releases where, and it might have been like early mold, the weapons fit in better, and they clipped in a little bit better, and over time...
Because it was a little bump, right?
It was like a bump out, on the hand, a ridge that held them tighter. So my complaint as a kid was that that plastic was just a little softer on the arms and legs, and you take the weapons out and put them in enough, and they just start getting loose. They don't hold in very well. But, overall, though, I mean, to take something out into the sandbox, I mean, He-Man was just like a tank of an action figure.
Oh, yeah.
So, you have a favorite vehicle?
I actually have a few. But if I was to name okay, so do we consider it a vehicle or a character? Battle Cat.
Oh yeah.
Is he a character? Is he a vehicle? I don't know.
Yes.
But Battle Cat, right there with the Wind Raider, I think, are my two favorite. Battle Cat because I remember, I think we said on one of our earlier podcasts before we were doing video, when we were talking about favorites from each line, it was the release of He-Man and Battle Cat together in the two-pack.
Yeah,
because I got him for a birthday.
Those are cool.
I got him for a birthday way back then. That's still a memory that stays with me. So, of course, Battle Cat is going to be like my number one vehicle because He-Man rides him into battle. But the Wind Raider was freaking cool too, I think. I really like the Wind Raider. The wings that could fold or can swing up and down.
Yeah, you gotta be careful
and
with
the
those.
Anchor, like I didn't understand the anchor.
Me either.
But
who
hey, whatever, man.
Anchor on a jet.
Skeletor. What's going on? Dink! Who the hell dropped an anchor on me?
I was just trying to take a break.
And damn you, He-Man!
Suck that, Skeletor. Like He-Man's a bully now.
Or like he doesn't know what he's doing. Oh, I shouldn't have dropped that there. Sorry, bonehead.
It was the 80s. He probably just threw all his garbage out of the Wind Raider. Yeah. Throw it on the ground. Litter. It's fun, kids.
What would be yours?
Battle Ram's my favorite. I like the separating thing. Like you got the little jet sled in the front, and the back actually has that like shooting strange missile with a flat blunt end to it.
Yeah, with the weird face, with the fangs. I wasn't sure what that was, but...
So I think they missed a really big opportunity on Attack Track. And, I mean, you guys out there, you've seen it, right? Like the cartoons. Attack Track looked like some sort of hippie van.
Yeah, not the toy.
But I saw something really interesting. Big Jim had a blue land vehicle that's a little bit more boxy and squared off, and it had the orange and white piping on the side of it, the paint app.
Do you think they were molding that after that?
I think the cartoon, when they were looking at bringing in like all of these, reuse of Big Jim, I'm about 99% positive. The similarities are too close.
Did it have wheels or did it have tracks?
It was tracked.
Really? So it was pretty much the same thing?
Yeah, so,
wow.
But it was open,
cool.
like the figure could still fit in it, but I think it had a windshield on it. And it would have been a little bit smaller, like Big Jim, it would have been like some singular little car like one guy could fit in, but Big Jim was like 7 inches tall or something.
He was a hefty
So
dude.
you could have maybe gotten 1 or 2 He-Man figures in there. So I think that's probably where Filmation got that idea that they needed to do the blue van Attack Track.
Maybe.
I'm pretty sure
I've always wondered why the two were so completely different, why the toy was different than the cartoon, because usually the cartoon had done a pretty good job of sticking close to what the figures or some things would look like. I mean, there was some
liberties for simplicity,
but they were pretty close. But Attack Track,
the Attack Track just kind of looks like a red battle ram, like the shape of it did. And I'm going to tell you what I think the crappiest vehicle was.
What's that?
100% far and away, Dragon Walker, the thing that he sits on, that green lizard head,
with the rotating,
and it goes forward and it rocks, and then the back swings forward, and it's this long thing, but the damn thing never swung all the way forward. It would hang up on the carpet, so it was like driving a different way. Stupid,
I didn't
vehicle.
like that one. I really didn't like that one.
Even the Roton, like Skeletor drives around in this tank with a table saw blade spinning around it. Even that is cooler than Dragon Walker.
Yeah.
Battle Bones gets a pass because it was a figure carrying device and it opened up on the front and you could put the accessories in. But Dragon Walker, crappiest vehicle. What was your earliest memory of He-Man? Was it your birthday?
That one was that was my earliest memory. I think. I don't think I watched, or if I did, my memory's not remembering in order. But my brain's earliest memory is getting that He-Man 2-pack with Battle Cat for my birthday and just losing my mind. Losing my mind and instantly wanting to rip him out of the box and play with him. His shield, for some reason, his shield is like this core memory. Like, how we have core memories?
So, but up to this point, though, I mean, you're used to Star Wars. Very subdued.
Very
one
small.
Little teeny tiny accessory if you're lucky in the package. And then, I mean, here's this guy with axe and sword and shield and body harness.
Yeah.
And bright.
Yep. Yeah. It instantly sucks you into the world and it hasn't let go of us since. But speaking of which, so that was the classic, the vintage line.
Mm-hmm.
So Masters of the Universe has continued in some way or another all the way up until right now. So afterward, we saw the weird kind of, I don't know what to call it, the weird reboot of He-Man.
I like the 2000X He-Man.
No, where the one where he was in space.
Oh, New Adventures.
New Adventures
1990,
of He-Man.
New Adventures of He-Man. Yeah.
Yeah, not a fan of that one.
I commend Mattel for trying to move forward, but so
the story is way different. It's so weird.
Yeah, it's Space He-Man, and it's a Canadian company that animated it with Canadian voice actors. Nothing against it. It's Gary Chalk, the guy that did the voice for Beast Wars Optimus Primal.
Okay.
He did the voice of He-Man.
But it still was...
but it was really weird. The animation models were odd. The voice acting was not good in the show. And the crossover characters look so strange. I think you got like Teela, Sorceress, and She-Ra at some point in there.
Skeletor I didn't like Skeletor.
Yeah.
I didn't like Skeletor. And He-Man was like, dude, where does Bolt go? Like, he slammed down.
Well, I don't know if you knew this or not, but about 1990 was hitting, and there was these steroid trials where they were going after wrestlers, and all the
It's
athletes
He-Man.
on the roids. I know,
Come
but He-Man's
on.
like, I've never touched this stuff.
Lost his
Enough
weight.
needles to fill the Grand Canyon, empty needles.
If I say, I did not like that version.
No, but
then,
He-Man got neglected. I think that was one of the big mistakes they made is, they came in hot. They had these 65 episodes, which was the magic number for syndication back then, and they turned to She-Ra. Filmation went over to She-Ra, no more He-Man. But She-Ra was a great toy line too, and you want to talk about
I actually
great,
kind of like She-Ra.
empowered characters. They fit with Masters and scale, but they completely cartoon-wise turn the attention to She-Ra, thinking, the kids will just keep coming home every day and watching He-Man and watching the same, episodes. I can remember seeing the rerun of the same episode in the same week for He-Man at one point.
Yeah, but don't tell me you weren't excited when He-Man would show up in She-Ra.
The
I love
crossovers
those. When He-Man would show up in She-Ra, I was like, this is an episode. Now we're going to have an episode.
Yeah, that was pretty cool, but I think they missed the mark a little bit. They could have really gone concurrent and had both of them going. So, the movie comes out, does not do well, and He-Man needs a cooling off period. So the movie was, 87?
Yeah.
So 89, it was the launch of New Adventures. I believe it was 89.
Okay.
And
So we took about a
they
two-year
just
hiatus.
thought that they could, turn He-Man around with a cool new sci-fi space story, and really that thing just fell about as flat on your ass as you can get. But interestingly enough, as the series progressed and more He-Man figures came out, we saw him going from thin little He-Man with a weird lightsaber version of his power sword back to, He-Man's going back to the gym with a strange articulation slice. But then the last one that came out,
Where he would do this.
yeah, like, oh god, oh god. The last He-Man that came out though looked like a traditional He-Man, Thunder Punch He-Man from NA, big bulky body, and he had the updated hips and movable knee joints. So right at the end of the line was sort of this return to Masters. Too late.
It was already dead.
And then we didn't see He-Man again until
2000.
About 2002, I think.
So
which great series.
Which a lot of people call the 2000X series, which I actually really liked.
Me too. Loved it.
That was really cool. They did kind of change up a few things for some of the characters. Like they made Skeletor, his name was now Keldor, and he was Randor's brother.
Mm-hmm.
So now He-Man is ending up fighting his uncle.
Yep.
Which put a different spin on things. So I mean, it worked. It kind of worked. It wasn't what I was. I mean, Skeletor has kind of gone through a few reiterations, or I should say, origin stories. When he first came out, like when we were talking about the mini comics, he was from a planet called Infinita, and he was a dark wizard and would use these portals to travel in between his world and Eternia. But now he's this. Now he's a brother of King Randor.
Yeah, who got his face burned off because he was being a dick brother and tried to put acid on his brother.
Totally. Yeah. And then we see more of the Masters kind of actually start to kick ass in 2000X.
Yeah.
They were more than just these background characters, Mechanic with us. He was. No, these characters actually did some damage.
And they had a good sense of humor about some of the absurdity of the He-Man characters, but it also had a much harder edge.
Yeah.
You can't fault for Filmation for being what it was, because being the first of these cartoon, toy supported by cartoon lines, it was very strict, and that's why we had the morals at the end of every episode, because it had to be educational. So you can't fault Filmation, but man, He-Man with just this harder edge. And I mean, as it got later, there were some really cool Snake Man episodes too. That
I haven't seen the whole thing.
Dude,
I haven't watched all of them, but I do have. I think I have like that first 25 episodes on DVD, and so
you got to get the rest of it, like what's considered season 3.
I just know that from what I know of it, I like it a whole lot better. I like the toys. Some of the toys that came out, like that Skeletor that came out, was just wicked looking.
Yep.
And He-Man looked a little, even though he was in he still was kind of in these strange poses, as opposed
they
to...
had him in that like kind of hunched over, but it was like this hyper anime look.
But he still looked cool, and he looked barbaric, and he looked like he can kick your ass. And so
his page boy became a cooler and more acceptable shaggy mullet. It was much better haircut.
Yeah. And the Castle Grayskull that came out with that, I actually have that. It's
pretty rad.
It's cool. It had electronic sounds in it, and then you can unlock things with his sword, and he had like a secret room that would pop out. There's a jail that you can, like an actual jail. So it was, as a playset, very cool. Yeah. Very, very cool. The eyes would light up. The eyes. Yeah. So.
I think the thing that killed that series was bad episode timing. They would debut episodes at like 7 p.m. on Saturday. Because it was on Cartoon Network. Oh. And they kept moving the times around for it, so you didn't know when you could catch it. They did do too many variants of He-Man and Skeletor, so they kind of clogged the shelves. But all in all, I mean, that line, it was sculpted out by the Four Horsemen, who are just like absolutely some of the best sculptors on the market.
The Triclops, I remember seeing a Triclops for that line, and that was pretty cool.
Oh yeah, and even the weird concepts, they looked great with the redesigns. My only complaints about that show were, one, Cam Clark, who's a wonderful voiceover artist, probably not best for He-Man. He could pull a Prince Adam off, but he just sounded like a skinny little guy trying to be masculine when he did the He-Man voice. But it was serviceable, and it's still a great show. I did not like the Power Sword redo.
Where it like had these crab looking like things off the side of it.
In the original story, when they were going to reboot it, Skeletor had both halves of the Power Sword. So Skeletor's sword in the redesign had this like good side and bad side, and it married up, and that was supposed to be the Power Sword.
And you would take them apart, and it had like this. One would jag this way, and one would jag that way.
And when you put them together, the two blades would come up, and they would taper in, and it looked like the traditional He-Man sword. And the He-Man got this Techno Sword because Man-at-Arms needed to figure out how to get him to channel the power of Grayskull. So the He-Man had that new sword redesign so he could get the sword back from Skeletor. Scrapped before the cartoon series. The figures were already sculpted out and developed, so they just rolled with it as it was. So
that's too bad.
Yeah,
that's too bad.
But I mean, there's such minor gripes. That's the best He-Man that we've gotten in a long time. I love Revelations, but 2000X is probably the best of He-Man.
Well, there was I remember they showed a lot of the magical insides of Castle Grayskull. We saw more of Castle Grayskull in this one, and I remember that like in the first 25 episodes I saw, you would see how deep it really went and the different worlds that you can go into, and just it was really cool. It made Castle Grayskull feel more mystical and more important than the original one did, where it was just, I need to take over the secrets.
There's something cool inside of there that I want.
But you never really got to see it. Except for, the sorceress sitting on her throne way up on the thing. That was really about it. I mean, I think there was one episode where Tila got mixed up in Castle Grayskull, and we saw like bridges that would cross over, but not as cool as what we were seeing in the 2000X cartoon. Yeah. So I think there was definite upgrades in that cartoon, even just from what I've seen.
Yeah, 2000X is great. And then, of course, we kind of hit a silent period after that. I want to say it was about 2006 when the NECA was doing what they called stactions, which were action figures, but they were in a static pose. So some of the characters that we did not
get... So NECA was doing that?
NECA.
Mm-hmm. Really? After 2000X?
They're great. Yeah, they're great. They fit the aesthetic of the 2000X figures perfectly, and they are designed to sit on the shelf with your 2000X figures. So we had this series of stactions. Then we kind of went silent, and then suddenly at a toy fair,
classics,
some weird He-Man showed up that the Horsemen had been working on, and everybody lost their collective poop over that one. What is this? What is it? And Mattel just had it in the booth. They weren't sure. And the amount of attention that thing got was nuts. So
the classics line.
Yeah, that's launched. And that's subscription figures, or try to buy them day off of Matty Collector, which was a giant bitch because their website was crap.
Yeah, but man, oh man, the sculpts, the figures that were in that classics line, classics was too rich for my blood. I couldn't get involved in the classics line.
I mean, as much as I want to. They started at $25, and this is like 2008.
Yeah, but I was still trying to find my footing in a lot of the work that I was doing, and couldn't really jump into But man, it was. I do remember. They looked beautiful, and as a toy lover, you're like, oh, I wish I could get those. Those are so cool. There were so many different versions of He-Man and Skeletor, and just the versions that came out. Like I can remember Trapjaw, just
cool, great figure.
Just
looking a great figure.
Beautiful. Yeah. And I remember in a magazine I was reading, that was when they showed a full page ad for Manny Faces. And I'm like, Manny Faces looks so friggin' cool. He's moving. He's got all these joints. He's just, oh man. And if there's one figure line that I could go back to and see if I could try to collect, I would try to do classics. But I even know now that it's just no. They're too
hard to get.
Way too expensive. And if you've got them now, good on you, because those were good figures. And
for the time, yeah. I mean, I had a point where I pre-ordered He-Man and pre-ordered Skeletor. You could go onto the website day of, and it was right at the beginning of the line. So when those figures came out, I do have both of them. I got a Prince Adam that ended up in Big Lots for some reason. Some overages or something hit Big Lots. But I don't have that many of the classics figures, and I mean, it was for those reasons. One, you had to subscribe, where you had to lock into a year's worth of figures at $25 plus $10 shipping, and then they went up and up from there. Wow. So, and I got a few of these other ones too that I got, like some 2-packs I got for a really good deal on Walmart. They accidentally marked them down. So Walmart's marketplace, not the actual Walmart, Walmart sold them. So, I got like the Laser Power He-Man and Skeletor 2-pack for like $20. And
jeez.
Same with
that's luck.
Terraclaw Skeletor and what the hell was that called? The Smash Blade. I don't remember the name. It's kind of gotten away from me right now. I know that the name of the figure doesn't make any sense. It's Flying Fists, but he has a weird bolo weapon.
That spins around.
Flying Bolo He-Man. Okay. Anyways, so that's what I got for classics. And that ran for many years.
It did.
And boy, if anybody out there, I'd like you guys, whoever has collected these figures, to take a second and be very thankful to Scott, Toy Guru Nightlick, the brand manager. He might have snuck a few things into the line that we didn't like, or weird characters, but overall, you could not have asked for a better steward of Masters of the Universe than some guy who's absolutely like gaga over Masters of the Universe. Nice. So he runs Spectre Creative on YouTube. Check out his channel. He has a ton of insight into the toy world, and he's just a super, super good dude.
Very cool.
But yeah, I mean, you had that taper out, and then the license sort of went over to Super 7, because they produced a few Ultimates figures, which I did buy the He-Man from that.
I did not like their He-Man that they came out with.
We had the classic head. That was cool.
I didn't like his face and his hair.
So, are you talking about the TV He-Man?
As seen on TV He-Man?
Yeah, so like they did this sort of reboot of the Waist Twist Power Punch figures, and they were doing like the cartoon versions.
Yeah, I didn't like him.
It was okay.
His face,
too shiny.
To me, he looks like he's got this weird Karen haircut, and his face is like, I don't know what's going on there. I was like, I don't like it. I'm not even going to waste my money on it.
Yeah, but what they did do is they took the Classics He-Man and they re-released him with like 3 head sculpts, darker colors, extra accessories, and one of the head sculpts he got was the classic styled head sculpt, not the 2008 reboot head sculpt that came on there. So they did some good stuff, and then all of a sudden, well, Super 7 doesn't have the license anymore.
Yeah, didn't they also start to release like some 3-inch 5?
They did the 5 POA, yeah. And I mean, that was sort of like the very, very end. But what the heck's going on, like here's He-Man disappearing from toy shelves.
Yeah.
Until
he came back in a big way.
There you go. Yeah, back to retail. Yep.
So then we're talking Masters of the Universe Origins.
Yep.
And wow, that's where I got back into Masters of the Universe. I mean, I had always had a collection of the vintage ones, but man, when Origins hit, it was like I felt that little boy in me just get rekindled again and go, He-Man's back! And it felt like he was back, like he was really back.
Yep.
And you had the first He-Man and Skeletor that came out. He could move at the elbows, but he still felt like He-Man.
Yeah, solid move at the wrists. Hold the weapons tight.
And just his feet can move, and so just enough articulation that it was like, oh, I always kind of wanted to do this with him, but not an overly articulation that you lost the feel of He-Man.
Yeah, and if you pose them in that classic like battle stance, all the articulation's hidden. It's very tastefully done, and it looks perfect.
Yep. And then they would just wave after wave. So the problem with the He-Man Origins in certain waves is not due to the release of the figures, but to the shipping of distribution of the figures.
Yeah, COVID really janked that up.
Yeah, so I think like wave 3 is really kind of hard to get a hold of, and that's the Zodak original gray Stratos, not the flesh-colored Stratos. I think Manny Faces is part of that.
It's in there somewhere, one of those waves.
So I think that those waves are the ones that nobody really saw on shelves except in certain places. And so when you go online now to try to fill in the holes, those ones are kind of the more expensive ones.
$30-$40 a piece now. Yeah.
But that said, though, when the shipping problems kind of started to get resolved, we started seeing more Masters of the Universe Origins on the shelves.
Yep.
And so that was really cool. We got to see the next waves, and so like we got the latest one with the Buzz Off and the Sorceress.
Yeah,
really
Jitsu
freaking cool.
Looks rad.
Yeah,
metal. Yeah,
and so it just brings back all those happy feelings.
Oh yeah, I swear to God, you walk down the toy aisle, and you think it's classic Motu on the shelf. The colors are slightly brighter. They're a little bit more saturated, which is really rad. I mean, that was one of the that's like the charm of the original line, is you have that packaging with the rocks exploding forward, and here's this colorful character that's on the card, and you're getting that now. When you walk down the toy aisle, you see those toys, and it's a huge like nostalgia hit.
It is.
Well, and they're great, and they retail for like about $16-$17 now, which is
perfect,
extremely reasonable in today's money, with how things have inflated.
But one of the things I'm happy with, I get to finally get some figures that I never got to get before, like Scareglow.
Yep.
I did not have a Scareglow as a kid. Good luck getting a vintage one now, but I got to get a Scareglow on card, and he glows. He's got everything just like the original. So beautiful, and I'm happy. It's like it fills that always wanted as a kid but never got to get it.
Yep.
I got it.
All the vehicles that have come out so far, man, they're terrific. All of the support vehicles, the Land Shark and the Wind Raider, and
I want the Wind Raider. I haven't been able to.
They're great. They are so awesome. The Battle Ram that came out, they're not over sculpted or over detailed, so it's almost like getting the original toys again. They are huge compared to the originals,
but they're slightly different. They're different enough.
Yeah,
right.
Colors are a little bit, like I said, more saturated, but they're terrific figures. And a lot of people poo-poo my belief that this is the best Motu we've had since the original, but it is.
It is. It absolutely is.
It's far and away. Aside from the head sculpts from Wave, like Wave 1 He-Man and Skeletor, retail release A, they've now released retail release B with classic head sculpts, and that's it. I mean, that's the missing link.
It really is. And even though Classics was a really good line, Masters of the Universe Origins is still the far superior toy line. I think
it is.
I think, and it does more than scratch the MOTU itch. It feels like Masters of the Universe is back.
And
they didn't
need. There was no changes to modernize character design. It was just straight out classic character design with updated articulation.
Yep.
They're just and the biggest thing that my biggest takeaway. If anybody likes to customize their action figures and they like custom Motu, dude, the shoulders pop out right at the joints. The heads come off really easy.
They pop off at the waist.
Pops apart.
Their feet.
The calves come apart. The only thing I don't think that comes apart is the hips, because I broke one trying to make a custom Wondar. So,
but still, that's enough that you can customize, come up with any any combination.
Yeah, I mean, just combining parts and painting them separately and putting them together. rather than having these tight joints that rub the paint apart. I mean, that's like a customizer's dream.
Yeah, and you really seriously. I mean, if I was a customizer, this would be a line. That I
and
would
think
jump
about
into.
this: if you're a kid and you're playing a little bit rough with your He-Man figure and his arm pops off, the old ones you could get away with it to a certain degree, popping them off at the shoulders, but then that plug would break off eventually.
Yeah, the plastic would get brittle enough that it would just snap into the arm.
These new figures are just they're terrific.
Yeah. They're built right. The plastic that they're made out of is different than the original, but I feel like it's way more durable.
Yeah, and not only are we getting all of these classic characters, I think Mattel has the rights for another year, maybe 2 years, and I think they're going to run through everything they can possibly do. Sony has the rights, and Mattel will have to pitch and license the rights back from Sony to get Masters back. But,
well, I hope they do something good. I'm looking forward to the characters that I haven't yet got.
Yeah, and I mean, within the next year and a half or 2 years, there's even news that we're going to be getting movie figures, He-Man and Skeletor in the Origins line,
and the Barbarian He-Man
and Barbarian
too.
and the
yes.
You got Revelations, which is sort of Masterverse,
Masterverse,
which is running concurrent to Origins, and that's like the collector level figures.
Yeah,
and
Masterverse is actually pretty good too. So, I mean, we can end on that one. We've talked about the latest Masters of the Universe before, and love it or hate the cartoon, the action figure line, in my opinion, is a very solid action figure line.
Oh yeah. Yep.
It goes in line with a lot of the War for Cybertron Transformers, the G.I. Joe Classified, the Star Wars Black Series. These Masterverse figures kind of fall in line with that. They're slightly bigger than the guys are, than the Classified.
Classics,
But the articulation is good. Some people have said that they don't like the face sculpt on some of them. That's neither here nor there.
People are kind of pissing and moaning about Trapjaw, because the new one, if you pull his jaw down, he's got this lizard face.
Yeah.
Put the jaw up.
Yeah.
Quit whining. Put the jaw up.
Yeah. No. It's a good line. Now, is it? It's not as good as Origins. I still think that Origins is the cream of the crop for Masters of the Universe. But it's definitely a second.
But, yeah, I mean, for some people, Origins might be a rehash. Like, you collect them.
Mm-hmm.
I have some, but I don't collect Origins because the aesthetic is so similar to the original Masters of the Universe. I have all of those main retail release figures. So, but as a starting off point, it's certainly, like, if you're looking at value, playability, etc., it is better.
I just love looking at them.
But they're perfect, yeah.
I just love looking at them on the card.
Masterverse, yeah, that's sort of like the G.I. Joe Classified, whereas Origins is a very nicely executed retro line of figures.
Yeah, but so the big four that I collect, Transformers, He-Man, G.I. Joe, and what's the other one?
Masters.
I thought I said that one. Okay.
No, we don't know anything about
that. So they all kind of have this really cool box side art that goes on where they show really beautiful art with them in action poses. So He-Man does that. G.I. Joe does that, where they highlights different artists and different styles on the side of their card art. Transformers does it with the War of Cybertron. Each different release, Kingdom, Earthrise, and Siege, all have different card art, and the figures would look really, really cool. And then now the Black Series has gone from just a standard black box to more of an angled box now with card art on it. So I, as a collector, that really kind of like brings them all together, right? Like, it looks really good on the shelf.
You figure if they're going to cover more of the toy up, you can at least put something on the box that makes it attractive.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the Masterverse fits really nicely in that collection that I've got. So
so it should be an exciting year coming up for Masters. Hopefully they get through everything that they want to do. I mean, we still don't. We know that we are getting Flying Fists He-Man, and we're going to get Thunder Punch He-Man. God help me, the only movie figures I have from back in the day are the He-Man and Skeletor I made because they didn't want to license out.
They look really good. You'll have to showcase them on one of our plastic bits one of these days.
We'll see. I did them on the tour that's going to be up pretty soon in the toy room. I said, "Oh, you guys remember these?" No, you don't. They never made them.
It's a Steve original.
Yeah, I did. But you know, I'd love to see that sub line come, and there's just a ton of great figures that are coming. So it's a great time to be reigniting your passion for Masters.
Yeah, I was going to say I feel like 2002 is going to be a very good year for toy collecting. I really do. I think we're going to get some really cool updates for a lot of our toy lines. Transformers, Masters of the Universe, G.I. Joe Classified.
Whoa.
People thought G.I. Joe Classified was dead, but hell no, it came back in a big way.
Yep. And
so,
this video will probably not make it, but this coming Friday we will have stuff to talk about. They just announced, like, on short notice, Hasbro Pulse Fan First Friday G.I. Joe.
I know.
Oh man,
there are a few in the classifieds line that I'm like, please announce these because I really want to see them. Tomax and Zama are at the top of my list.
I don't know. You know what? If they make a new Big Lob figure, still not buying it.
Big Lob for the win.
I'd love somebody to announce me though. Steve gets up from his desk. Steve goes over to the printer so he can pull a work order.
Steve goes to the John, shuts the door. What will he do?
Oh, sounds like a slam dunk.
Everything announced. Some things don't need to be announced, Big Lob. It's
Steve,
what I do.
Steve needs more fiber in his diet.
Wow, that went off the
Probably. Yeah.
Oh, anyway. So, okay.
Steve's buying toys again. His wife's texting him. What's he going to do? Hey, sweetheart, do you need something from the store that sells groceries? Because I am in close proximity.
To said store.
Yes.
All right. Anyway, I think that's a good spot to end on. Look forward to our next toy discussion. Not sure which one we'll be talking about, but I'm sure it'll be just as fun. But as always, please, if you're one of our 9 subscribers, tell some other people about us and get the word out there. Like and subscribe for some more original, goofy content from Steve and I.
Yeah. Yeah, if you think we're wrong about Origins, comment below and we'll tell you why you're wrong.
Yeah, we'll tell you why you're wrong. Anyway, see you around.
That's it. See you in the toy aisles.